time-restricted eating health benefits. In this video, we're going to go over 10 powerful health benefits of time-restricted eating and intermittent fasting. Hello everyone, my name is Mike Cola and I've been a fitness trainer and gym owner for over 30 years. And if this is your first time here and you really want to improve your fitness, health, and nutrition, you want to lose a little weight along with me, hit that subscribe button along with the bell indicator so you never miss one of my videos. Okay, let's get right on topic. Let's talk about all the health benefits of time-restricted eating. First, let's define what time-restricted eating is. Then let's go over like 3 or 4 really popular protocols. Okay, time-restricted eating, all it means is that you're restricting your calories to a limited eating window. Okay, for example, 16-8. This is one of the really popular protocols where you're fasting for 16 hours every day and then you're taking your calories in within an 8-hour eating window. Now, the big difference between time-restricted feeding or time-restricted eating, in my opinion, compared to intermittent fasting, is that with intermittent fasting, you would use the same protocols like a 16-8, but you just wouldn't do it every day. You would do it intermittently. You would do it, say, 2 or 3 times a week. But when you're following time-restricted eating, you actually do it every single day. Okay, so that's the difference between the two. So 16-8, real popular protocol. Another protocol that actually studies have shown that the simplest way to get started is just delaying breakfast by 90 minutes and then eating dinner 90 minutes sooner. And so that's kind of shortening your eating window too. It may not be as extreme as a 16-hour fast, but just making that little dietary change, you get so many benefits of this time-restricted feeding. Okay, now another somewhat aggressive method is actually a 24-hour fast. I think that's something that you may want to try down the road once you've been intermittent fasting or time-restricted feeding for quite some time. But a lot of people just like to fast for 24 hours intermittently. Okay, that would be more like a version of intermittent fasting more than time-restricted feeding, because obviously you can't fast every day, right? Then the fourth method, which I really like, is called OMAD, like 1 meal a day diet. I personally do this on Sundays. So for example, instead of just doing a 16-hour fast, maybe you're doing a 20-hour fast and you're giving yourself like a 3 or 4 hour eating window. I like to do this on Sundays and have a big fasting day on Sundays. What I think is the biggest health benefit of time-restricted feeding is that it increases your insulin sensitivity, it increases your leptin sensitivity, and it actually helps with hormones in general. All the weight-gaining hormones fall back in line, like ghrelin, the hunger hormone, falls in place. And how this works is that when you're in a fasted state, actually your blood sugar is actually under control. It's not crazy out of whack. When you're in a fasted state, insulin is actually very, very low running through your body. So the lower you can keep insulin, the more insulin sensitivity is increased. Okay, for example, if you're insulin resistant or say you're leptin resistant, that leads to weight gain and a lot of unhealthy metabolic type conditions. For example, if you're overeating too many carbohydrates, you're eating too much sugar, and insulin is constantly running through your bloodstream. The pancreas produces insulin to take the sugar out of the blood. So if you're constantly pumping sugar, carbohydrates, and just overeating, throughout the whole day consistently, your body doesn't respond to insulin. And that's when you become insulin resistant, which leads to so many health issues. So time-restricted feeding and intermittent fasting, when you're fasting for extended periods of time, is probably one of the best ways to increase your insulin sensitivity. The second benefit is weight loss without counting calories, which is really incredible. When you follow intermittent fasting, I would say 90% of the people will actually eat less automatically without trying. Like counting calories will work initially. When you restrict calories, you are going to lose weight as long as you don't do it too long term. If you do it too long term, your metabolism will actually slow down. But generally, initially, you will lose weight. But it's such a difficult thing to do. And in my opinion, it's a losing battle to try to lose weight by constantly restricting calories. But when it comes to intermittent fasting, without even trying, it may be a little counterintuitive, but people just automatically eat less. Like, for example, there's a study that I talked about briefly before where people ate breakfast 90 minutes later and ate dinner 90 minutes sooner. 57% of the people in that study who restricted their eating window automatically ate less food. Okay, but there are studies that show that even if you don't restrict calories, for example, there's another famous study that's out there about, actually, it was a study on weightlifters who for 8 weeks, one group did time restricted eating, took in all the calories in an 8-hour eating window. The other group ate just 3 meals a day, normal eating, same amount of calories, same amount of macros, same amount of protein, fats, and carbohydrates. The group that actually followed the restricted eating window actually lost much more body fat. Actually, it was something like, I think it was 16% compared to only 2.5% to the group who ate 3 meals a day. So you can't even lose weight without restricting calories. And that comes from a lot of the hormonal benefits we talked about in the first health benefit, like better insulin sensitivity and things along the lines of that. Okay, but that's a major benefit, losing weight without counting calories. Now, the third health benefit is actually lower triglycerides. Studies have shown that if you restrict the eating to a limited window, you can actually lower your triglycerides, which is actually going to lead to improved heart health. And actually, the fourth health benefit is actually lower blood pressure. Actually, research has also shown that intermittent fasting can actually lower blood pressure. And in my opinion, this also comes back to that first one. You know, when your hormones are in place, you're going to just be so much healthier. Your triglycerides are going to be lower and your blood pressure is going to be lower too. Now, the fifth benefit is actually an increase in human growth hormone. Research has shown that actually when you're in a fasted state, human growth hormone goes up, which is actually going to make it easier for you to maintain your muscle mass and potentially even put on muscle mass. That's why some people are concerned that when they start fasting, oh, I'm going to lose muscle mass. Actually, research has shown just the opposite. You can actually maintain muscle mass incredibly well when you're fasting, and actually you can even increase your human growth hormone, which is great for anti-aging, which is great to actually maintain and put on muscle mass. Now, the sixth benefit is actually a reduction in inflammation throughout the body. You know, research has shown that when you're in a fasted state, these inflammatory markers, so much disease is related now to inflammation, are actually your oxidative stress. It's actually reduced when you're in a fasted state. Now, the seventh benefit is actually an upregulation of autophagy. Autophagy means it's like the self-cleansing of cells within the body. For example, like weak and damaged organelles actually get eaten up and recycled, which is incredible for health, incredible for longevity. You know, all the anti-aging doctors now are talking about the importance of autophagy. And actually, when you're in a fasted state, besides exercise and just actually calorie restriction, but just fasting really increases autophagy. Actually, it's hard to say exactly when it does kick in, but researchers are saying somewhere between 12, 14, 16 hours, autophagy starts getting upregulated. So if you're following a 16-8 protocol, those last couple of hours of your fasted state, autophagy is upregulated. If you're doing the OMAD, like that aggressive version of intermittent fasting, where you're fasting for 20, 21, 22 hours, that's when you're really getting so many benefits of autophagy. Now, the eighth health benefit is actually a reduction in your chances of getting type 2 diabetes, or possibly even reversing type 2 diabetes. You know, diabetes is such an epidemic in the United States. And this has to do back to that first health benefit. When you have good insulin sensitivity, and when you're controlling blood sugar well from being in a fasted state, your chances of getting diabetes is tremendously reduced, type 2. And also, if you have type 2, it's a great way to potentially get rid of it. Now, the ninth benefit is that fasting actually reduces your chances of getting cancer. There's actually a great study done on women who unfortunately had breast cancer, and they followed them over a long period of time, and they determined that the women who followed like a time-restricted eating protocol where they fasted for like over 13 or 14 hours every single day had a much less reoccurrence of actually breast cancer. So there is some preliminary research that says that intermittent fasting can potentially prevent cancer. Now, the 10th and final benefit is that intermittent fasting can potentially increase your longevity. And some of the thought process behind this is that it has to do with mTOR. Like mTOR is pretty much like the growth signaling. When you're constantly eating, when you're eating carbohydrates, when you're eating proteins, like your body is always in like a growth mode. There's an abundance of food. And some people feel, some doctors feel, and some researchers feel that if you're constantly stimulating mTOR, unfortunately, if you have some bad things going on in your body, say you do have cancer cells, things like that, that this mTOR can actually feed the cancer cells. But when you're in a fasted state, it's the exact inverse. mTOR is actually very, very low. So a lot of researchers and scientists think that fasting is a great way to keep mTOR low for certain periods of the day. We can actually increase your longevity, help you live a longer and healthier life. Now, some bonus like health benefits of time restricted feeding is a lot of people feel that it's good for cognition, it's good for brain health. And one of the reasons for is that it's much easier to get into ketosis. Even if you're not following like a strict ketogenic diet, say you're eating just a moderate amount of carbohydrates, when you're in a fasted state, if you're staying in a fasted state for long enough, the liver will produce ketones. You know, that's where, you know, basically when the carbohydrates get really low in your body, the liver produces ketones and the brain loves to burn ketones. I personally bounce in and out of ketosis all the time. And I do get somewhat of euphoric, clear thinking when I'm in like say a mild state of ketosis. So that's another tremendous, in my opinion, benefit of also intermittent fasting. Okay, now I hope you really enjoyed this video. You know, there's so many health benefits to intermittent fasting. You know, me and my wife started intermittent fasting like over 9 years ago. You know, and we did it intermittently. We did that 16-8 protocol. We do it like 2-3 times a week. But in the last few years, we both progressed into more of a time-restricted eating protocol where pretty much I do it every single day. I do time restricted eating, say 6 days a week, 16-8. And then on the weekends, on Sundays, I actually do an OMAD where I take in all my calories in like a kind of like a feasting Sunday meal, maybe in a 2 to 3 hour eating window. And it's worked incredibly well. We feel incredible. You know, my body weight stays at an optimal level pretty much all year round. But I do one other thing. Every now and then, every maybe 3 or 4 weeks, I like to take a diet break where I pretty much go off this intermittent fasting and time restricted feeding, and I do maybe eat breakfast, and I'll do that for maybe 4 or 5 days, maybe once every 4 or 5 weeks. You know, because it's one of the issues when you constantly do time restricted eating is that you may not be eating enough calories. Like I said earlier in the video, you automatically don't eat as much. So I like to, you know, I don't want to get too thin. You know, I want to gym, I want to stay in top shape. So I like to have feed days or like diet breaks, maybe every 4 or 5 weeks. I play it more by feel. Okay, well, once again, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you give me a thumbs up and also leave a comment. If you've been experimenting with intermittent fasting, if you had some success with it, if you had some failure with it, I'd love to hear about it. And if I can help you in any way, you know, leave a comment and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. Okay, take care everyone and have a wonderful day.